My name is Douglas Waudo. I did my undergraduate in mass communication and journalism for 3 years in India, and then when I came back, I did my master's in communication at Daystar University, and I have a couple of diplomas here and there and several certificates. I've been working from 2006, so basically this is like my 8th year of working. I was just requested if I can come and share with you a few things about packaging yourself for the job market. I have a very good understanding of the Kenyan job market, especially when it comes to looking for jobs and how you project yourself during interviews. And that's some of the things that we'll be talking about. I want to share with you 4 ways of how to prepare yourself for the job market. How do you prepare yourself for the job market? The first thing you need to do, and of course you know about this, is have a professional CV. The problem we have, at least from my interaction with a lot of guys who are looking for jobs, is we've not had a chance as job seekers to profit from this kind of talks, whereby someone who's gone before you shares with you their experience or what a CV needs to look like. So there's something which always lacks in most of the people, CVs. It's called a cover letter. Cover letter is that first page. Before you start talking about when you were born and where you were born, which school you went to, where you've worked, a cover letter. Basically, a cover letter is a summary of your CV. As an employer, if you apply for a job and I'm looking to hire someone, I want to get a summary of your CV by reading a cover letter. It talks about your education background. It talks about why you're applying for that job and why you think you're qualified for that job. It's as simple as that. Because what usually happens, and I've had chances in my capacity at work to go through a lot of CVs when we are interviewing people. And one of the things we usually do, can you imagine applying for a job and you're looking to hire one person and at least 500 people have applied. And your employer gives you 1 day or half a day to go through all those CVs and shortlist at least 6 or 5 people to be interviewed. And you have 500 CVs. What do you do? And this is the reality out there. So mostly, I'll just share with you what we do at job. So I'll get your CV. If you don't have a cover letter, that's the first thing. It goes to the dustbin. That's the first thing. So if you have a cover letter, so I'll start looking at the ones that have a cover letter. So I'll read. If it doesn't make sense, it goes. I've not even flipped to the second page. So if it doesn't make sense, if the first paragraph doesn't really, it's not really coming out, it goes. And that's how, unfortunately, it's not a professional way of doing it, but that's the way it's done. That's the reality. No one will have, by the time I reach your 3rd page, checking your CV on the 3rd page, trust me, you'll have really caught my attention. So you can imagine how you need to package your CV. It's not just a matter of putting, I went to Narumoru Primary School and then I studied this, I got a C+, I got a what, So your cover letter is a summary of your CV. Are we clear on that? So basically when I get your CV, I look at the cover letter. It's supposed to make me go to the 2nd page. Now we are done with the cover letter. You talk to the format of the CV. The first thing, I want you, I know we all have our formats of CV. I saw another CV, someone sent apply for a job, and they had attached photos of their wives and 2 daughters and 1 son in color, To be honest, no one cares about your daughters and wives and, no one really cares. It's the brutal truth, but that's the reality. So for me, after going through many CVs and I've also done mistakes. I was in your position a few years ago, and I've learned through a very hard way of how to deal with this. Finally, the format I'm going to share with you is not like the ultimate, but it's a good beginning point. You start with your personal information. So personal, basically date of birth, very, very important. Your sex, your marital status. As an employer, I want to know if you're married, if you're divorced, all those things. Sometimes they're not important, but most of the times they are. Your nationality, your contact address, your telephone number, and your email address. Most people will tell you, you don't have to put the year you were born on your CV. That's very wrong. You know why? There are two things. If I go through your CV and you really qualified for the job, but then I'm struggling to know how old you are, and there's someone equally as qualified as you, and they have put their date of birth on their CV, you know what I'll do? I'll save myself the trouble of calling you to ask you how old are you, and I'll take the next guy. So you see, a very small thing that can easily disqualify you. Because imagine someone calling you, an employer calling you, oh, by the way, you didn't put your date of birth on your CV. It's very important, it needs to be there. Then the second thing, after your personal information, is your career objective. This is most CVs don't have this. I see a lot of CV. And for those who have, don't put 3-4 paragraphs of career objectives. I want to be a dynamic role model in the emerging society, and a lot of English you've put there. Just try to make it at least one sentence. I'll read for you my career objective. You may criticize it, but it has worked for me so far and given me the job. To be a resourceful, creative, and highly productive communications specialist. A career objective on your CV basically tells your employer the kind of a person you are. You're very focused, and you know what you want. Don't put there a lot of paragraphs and you start telling us what you've studied, and no, that's not a career objective. Career objective basically is like me asking you, summarize who are you in one sentence, or who do you want to be in one sentence. I want to be a resourceful, creative, and highly productive, information technology, wherever, We are clear there? Can I move on? So personal information, career objectives, and then qualifications. I'm sure you already start wondering, how does this CV looks like? So this is still in page 1. Qualification. Qualification is where you tell us where you went to school, which year I went to school. So basically what I do for me, I start with my latest level of education. So I'll start with my master's and end up with my KCSE, high school. Don't start with high school, please. When you're doing your education background, don't start with your high school. Start with your latest level of qualification. And then fourthly is what I call career summary. Career summary is basically a summary of your career, what you've done. And you try to be very specific. If you look at my CV, my career summary, the first sentence, which is always the strongest, I'll just read it out to you. Demonstrated knowledge and proven over 7 years of professional work experience in broadcast and interactive digital media and development communications, working with civil society groups, African governments, international donor organizations, and other partners. So basically, if you read that, if you are in employment, you'll understand this guy has all these years in this field of education or this field of specialization. He's worked for these organizations and for this long, in one sentence. Hello. So you're talking about your experience, you're talking about where you've worked, and your field of specialization, and then you talk with the organizations you've worked with in one sentence. So you try to make your career basically is a summary. So if you look at that, the things we've talked about, if I look at it, I have a very clear summary. Even before I go to second page or third page of your CV, I know your personal information, I know your career objective, I know your qualifications, your education qualifications, and I know your career summary. Trust me, I don't even have to go to the next page. If I'm convinced you're the person qualified for the job, I'll give you a call for an interview. As simple as that. So basically what you're doing, you're just bringing out your skills and experience. So if you worked in IBC, you are a clerk there, you had some experience there. If you worked in some NGO, you're doing some accounting work, you have some experience there. If you worked in school, you volunteered somewhere, that is an experience. It's a summary. I've done this, I've done that and that and that. Just a summary.
I see some people writing what they got a grade in the qualifications. Is it a must?
It's not a must. Personally, I'll discourage it. I will. Because for one reason, because as an employer, I want to know if you are, I want to know, employers are obsessed with experience. So I want to know where you've worked, if you're qualified for the job. I really don't care about your grade. You may have gotten a D+ in high school, but you have very good 5 or 3 years experience and you're good at your work. So your grade really don't really, unless an employer expressively asks for your grade. But I will encourage you not to put it on your CV, because no one really cares, honestly. So we are done with career summary. And then now when you flip is when you start mentioning, detailing where you've worked. And we'll come to the question of what if I've not worked? We'll come to that. Let's assume you have worked for 3 years. You've worked for 2 organizations. So the first thing I will encourage you to do is you start like on one side of the column, the year you've started up to the year you stopped working. Like for me, I started working with my current employer, I started working in 2013. So my CV will read 2013 to date. And then the next column, I don't know if you can see. Can you guys see? So you have the year, and then you have I've put it in bold, where I've worked, the name of the organization, and then I've listed what I did or what I'm doing. So that's where you go a bit into details of your career summary. So you'll see some of the things you say, I develop communication strategies, I do media activities like media relations. I've put a lot of that, what I do at work. So basically, when someone reads my CV, they understand without any doubt what I do in that organization. They don't have to start second guessing. And this is the problem we have with many CVs, where you just list stuff for the purpose of listing. I was doing accounting. What is accounting? You go beyond accounting. You say I was doing record keeping, I was preparing payrolls, I was managing the database for employees. You get what I'm saying? So you don't just throw in word, I was doing accounting. So you start going into the specifics of what, and this is very, very, very important. If you look at a job advertisement, what do? They list for you in specifics the person they are looking for. So they say we want a team player, we want someone with 4 years experience, and then they have this part of requirements. They need to have studied in this course, they need to have this many years experience, they need to be well knowledgeable in this field. Like in my field, you'll see stuff like they need to know how to develop a communication strategy, a media campaign. So putting that in your CV becomes very important. And that's why you catch the eye of an employer. Because if I'm looking for a media specialist and I see in your CV, I have experience in developing communication strategies, that already catches my eye. But if I just see words like, oh, I was doing accounting there, I was doing what, big words without explaining, then it becomes very tough. So what you do, you just list that. So like you'll see where I'm working currently, it's there, and then you have where I used to work. So I worked from 2011 to 2013. I worked for this, for USAID, the American, wherever, and then I have my roles, very well defined. And don't worry if some of the roles you did in your previous employment replicate what you're doing currently, because it's still your same field, your field of expertise. So there's no problem about that. Now, if you've never worked anywhere, so you've come from campus or you're in campus but you're looking for a job, what do you put there? Can someone answer me? What do you put there?
From the one?
Yes.
I'm beginning from high school. What I did in high school.
So like what?
Yeah, maybe...
You used to be a school prefect.
Maybe took my school to math contest. Just like myself.
So this is what I want to do. I'm going to hold on this because it's one of my next points. So you're done with work experience. And then in your CV, so you've listed where you used to work. The next thing what I'll encourage is if you've done computer, put it there. Like for me, I have a subtitle called computing skills. And then I've listed, I've done Word document, Microsoft Word, and I've done other softwares. Even if I don't have a certificate for any of the things, but the knowledge I have. Like I've done a lot of video. By nature of my job, I've taught myself to do a lot of editing, video editing, and I know a bit of softwares. So what I've done in my CV, I've listed them there. So what it does in my field, you'll see like they look for people who have done photography and they're very good in video. It gives you an advantage to your prospective employer. They say, oh, they also know this, they also know that. So what I'll encourage, under there, just put wherever you've done that is not in your mainstream, maybe roles and all that, specifications like what we've talked about. So you just put it there. And then, of course, that's where you put now your leadership skills. In my CV, I have put, I'm a chairman of an investment group with my friends. I've put it there. I'm a chairman of an investment group, and the name of the investment group. What that tells the employer, you have leadership skills. So if you used to be chairman wa agriculture club in high school, and let's say you've not done a lot of work, or you've not done any work, that's where, those are stuff you start putting. If you are a leader in school, if you are a class prefect, you don't say I was a class prefect, you use a fancy word. You know, I oversee, you know, the student associations wherever. Nakumba ulikuwa prefect wa form 2. You know, you just put, you know, use fancy word. You also be creative. The point is you're trying to show your leadership skill. So you're a leader. Even if you are the dining hall guy who was used to chase around. So you see, you just be creative. If you used to be, even outside your education, in your church, you're a leader, you're a member of a team. You put any skills you have, or you think you have, put it there. So if you are a leader in your church, you are a leader in your family, there are guys who have family groups in WhatsApp. If you're an administrator of a family WhatsApp group. The last part of your CV is where you have referees. So mostly employers will ask 2 to 3 referees. Don't put there 5 referees. Some of them are very specific in the job advertisement. They will tell you how many referees they will need. Mostly, usually 2 to 3. Don't put 5, don't put 10 referees, please, don't. This one for me, I learned through hard. When I started working and I started applying for jobs, I was told, you know, a referee is someone who is supposed to be really well-known, someone big. You put their name on your CV, and, you know, an employer looks at that, you know, my referee is the CS for health, you know, and all that. It's good. But the problem, and this is tricky, I'm not discouraging anyone to put big names on your CV. The problem is, you put for me, I think, and from my experience, just put a referee who is can easily be contacted. If an employer calls a referee for your references, at least they need to pick up their call, or they need to call back. I'll give you an example. I had put my uncle, he's a big guy, he was managing some big international project funded by the European Union. And he was managing, I think, around 28 countries in Africa, and he used to travel a lot. So that is the guy, you will call him, he's mteja most of the time. And then he never calls back, he doesn't know you called. And then if you try to look for him, so you call his wife or his kids, they'll tell you, oh, he went to Zambia, from Zambia he's going to Ghana, and all those things. So mostly, I used to be called by employers, they say, we can't reach your referee, can you send a substitute? And it kept on happening. Until I discovered, this was through a very hard way. And you know, the employer pissed off. You know, the HR calls and she's in a bad mood. She's been reading 200 CVs the whole day. She's like, I can't get through your referees, can you send? And you know, and maybe you're in a meeting or maybe you're traveling. And she tells you, can you send in the next 5 minutes? So you either need to have an internet access, you can't SMS her, you can't WhatsApp, you know. So it becomes a bit tricky. So what I encourage you to do, look for someone who can easily be accessible. So what I did, if you look at my CV, one is my cousin, his phone is always on, you know. And then there are those chap guys, he gets a missed call, he'll call back even if he doesn't know the number. So that's someone you can really depend on. And then the other person is my friend. So my friend, I know her very well, we've worked, you know, we've known each other for quite a while. They are very chap guys. So I'll encourage you to look for someone who is easily accessible. That should be number one. So if you put the CS of health, if you call him now, do you think he will pick? Or he'll give his personal secretary to return most of them. It's the personal secretary who handles their calls. So you get it. So referees, someone, and then in the referees, make sure there's a telephone number and make sure there's email address. But make sure they have an email address. An email address. Because mostly what employers do for purposes of record, if I want to employ you and I'm really interested in employing you, I will call for referee, and then the referee is supposed to send a reference of you to me. So the other thing, when you choose a referee, make sure they know they are your referees. Sawa? Very, very important. I don't want to be called and say, Mr. Waudo, we would like you to do a reference for Grace. I'm like, Grace Nani? You know, and I'm so shocked. And probably I'll hang out and say, you're calling a wrong number. That's what most people do, isn't it? Yeah. And then they'll call back to clarify, no, you are on Grace CV. I was like, wacha kunisumbua, nimekuambia hii ni wrong number. Imagine, and it's someone who wants to give you a job. I'll just go to the next CV. So, okay, the other thing, this may not necessarily apply to you, but it's something I've been doing. So I've done, after my referee, my CV has, I call it, why it's a topic. So it's like, and then I have bullet points. Why I think I'm the right person for this position. So I have it. I learned somewhere a long time ago from a book I was reading, and it always works for you. But probably, I leave that to your discretion. If you feel you should write it in your CV, you can write. But for me, it has worked for me so far. So basically, ni kujitetea. So why I believe I'm the right person for the position of communication specialist. And then number one, I'll say, I have demonstration experience in managing communication department for large, complex organization. I have, this is my favorite. I have to read it out for you. With my master's degree in communications from Daystar University, coupled with my Bachelor of Arts in Journalism and Mass Communication, and relevant diplomas and certificates, I have a high standard degree level of education, which is the backbone of my proven knowledge and insight in the field of corporate communication. So basically, this has worked for me, and basically, it's because of I've worked for quite some years. So ni kujitetea. So if you're not really convinced with my CV, ukifika huku, you just read it like a novel, and then you just use very nice English words, you play around with words. And then the last thing, so let's assume we now have our CV. Sindio, we've done all those formats, we have the good format, we have our cover letter. The last thing, now you want to apply for a job. I will encourage you to, when you are applying for the job, most of them nowadays is you send through email, make sure it's in PDF format. The reason is, if you put in Word format, sometimes when, you know, guys have different softwares and operating systems on their computer. Sometimes when they open the Word format, it changes some stuff. You know, the format of your CV. So some words will move here and there. Maybe you intended, this should be the last paragraph on page 1. You'll find that paragraph on page 2. And you know, some of, like for us, the people we've shortlisted, if we want to employ, we will print out their CVs. Because we put it in on record in file. So you'll find if you print it out and paragraph 4 is in page 6, and I don't know what has moved here and there, it just starts giving you a, you know, the prospective employee start just having a bad feel about the CV. His CV mekaje, it just keeps on moving. So I'll encourage you put your CV in PDF. That way no one can be able to tamper with it. So that we have handled number 1 of ways to prepare for the job market. So you have a professional CV. Number 2, I'll try to be fast because I don't want to take a lot of your time. Number 2, now you have your CV. Where and how do you apply for jobs? Where are these jobs? Now the first thing, this may sound very obvious, they are job sites. So you know, Kina Brighter Monday and a lot of job sites. So what I'll encourage, if you're looking for a job, make sure you are subscribed to all these websites. For me, I've gone through a couple of them. I started deleting some of them from, unsubscribing from some of them because I felt like they were not giving me value for money. But if you're starting, just have as many as you can. And then they'll be giving you alerts every time jobs are uploaded. And then the other very good way is newspapers, where you get serious employers. Newspapers, especially the Daily Nation on Wednesdays and Fridays. They always have good jobs there. And then the other thing, which I'll talk about it later on, is networking. Networking is very important. It's about connecting to people who matter. Talking to people, like if you are in IT field, you need to have a few guys who are in the IT industry, who are working there. You need to have those networks. Even they may be your cousins, they may be your friends, they may be your relatives, your neighbor. Just intentionally go out of your way and try to establish contacts with people. I'll share with you my story later as we go on. And then I'll also encourage, now in the era of social media, you have Twitter, you have Facebook and all that. Your prospective employer, what you need to do from today, have a list of at least 5 to 10 the companies you want to work for. Have their list on paper. And then what you do, look for their Twitter handles, look for their Facebook page, like their Facebook page, follow them on Twitter. Because what happens, these guys always advertise jobs and they will put it there. So they will put their jobs on Twitter before they put it in the Daily Nation. Or they put their jobs on their website. Like for me now, I have one ultimate employer who is on my list, and I follow them like crazy. I comment. I think they know me by now. I want to work for the UN, ultimately. So I follow I comment. When they post something, I like it. Say, yeah, very nice thing. This is a very nice photo. I'm very, very, yeah, this is how you hustle, brother. Yeah. So you become very active on their handle. Back the guys, their communication guys, they know, hey, there's a guy called Douglas. He's always liking photos, So that when you go for an interview, and we'll come to this, one of my favorite topics is on interviews, is now you start telling them about them. So you say, if you employ me, you see that picture you posted on 28th of February, that one of the lady, I think like it should have been described like this and like that. They start, oh, this guy is almost like he's already working for us. It makes a difference. I'm telling you, out here, you will graduate and get out of this university, and then you realize there are guys who've read books. And then those guys are looking for the same job you're looking for. And then you realize now, ni kubaya. And that's why we are here to help you guys. Sawa sawa. Okay. So we've done with know where to look and how to look for a job. I'll come to, now you have your CV, you have, you know where to apply for a job, how to look for a job. Now, how do you prepare for an interview? Let's go number 3. The first thing I will say, let's say now you've applied for a job, you've been called for an interview. Preparing for an interview, the first thing I always say is research about that organization. Let's say Safaricom calls you for an interview next week. You have enough time to research about Safaricom. Know that organization inside and out. The basic thing that matter to you, like for me, I'll research more generally and as far as communication is concerned. You know so much about the organization and you can engage them. And as you'll see just shortly is, you're supposed to make, an interview is supposed to be interactive and engaging. No, it's serious, someone sitting with a suit, is asked question and answering it as if you're being vetted whether you need to go to heaven or hell. No. For me, you call me for an interview, I'll crack jokes, I'll ask questions, I will be engaging. And this is where now you start showing off. Sile ya kuringa ama too overconfident, but you show them what you know about the organization, and it makes a big difference. And we go back to cover letter. So in my cover letter, the third paragraph, I've said, I've given 3 reasons. I always give, these are 4, or this one is 4 now. I've given 4 reasons in my cover letter why I think I should work for you. So the first reason I always say, as a committed and motivated communication specialist, I will enjoy utilizing my over 7 years or 8 years of experience in your organization. Then the second reason I will say, the field, now you talk about your field now. The field of communication is appealing to me and I love to work, let me just read it out. The field of communication and particularly corporate and development communications is especially motivating to me. And then thirdly, you talk about your skills. And then fourthly, I'll come to this. This is what I've just been talking about. Finally, my extensive research indicates that, this is a job I was applying in UNICEF. UNICEF has the kind of working environment where I can excel professionally. So it's in the cover letter. Say, I really want to work with you guys because I've really researched about you. And this is where I can excel in my professional level and contribute my skills to your organization. So you've researched about the organization, show up for the interview on time. On time, basically, don't come, you've been called for an interview at 2 o'clock, you show up at 10. No. Just come around 15 minutes before the interview. If you are told to come at 2, at least 1:45 be there at the reception. That's a very good time. But show up on time. And then the other thing is, if you're called for an interview, please don't ask them to postpone. Oh, I'm busy, can I come? If you have exams, that is something else. But if it's something you can manage, if you're committed, always try to make sure you go for that interview at that time. But if you have there are circumstances which are beyond your powers, you can ask them if they can reshuffle it. Maybe do it in the afternoon or the following day. But always try to avoid the situation where you have to force the employer to reschedule your interview. Because this is what usually happens. I'll give you an example. Like from work, if we've scheduled, today we are interviewing 6 people. We've said John will come in at 9, Grace will come in at 10, so-and-so will come in at this time and this time. And we are organized at work. We know these are the times you're coming. And then that morning, you're scheduled to come at 8, at 9. You tell her, you call and say, I'm late in traffic or something happened. Can I come in the afternoon? Do you know what that means? Because now we can't call the next person to come early. It becomes a bit tough for us. So we'll just chill that 1 hour, 2 hours. We were to interview, we wait for the next call. But that will already have inconvenience. And we'll already be pissed off at you, even though we won't tell you. We're like, sasa huyu hata hawezi kuja interview. Now can they do the job? So if you have to reschedule, maybe reschedule a few days later. If you really kimeshikana, you have exams or something, you can always do that. But don't call that morning and say, and then you come to interview late, you say nilikuwa kwa traffic. No. Come on. Don't do that. So show up on time, look sharp. If you have to borrow a suit for guys, borrow a suit. Yeah, if you have to cut off your hair vizuri, cut off your hair. Vizuri, show up, be smart. Usikuja ile ya kima boys, unajua, you come umelala hivi. You're coming for an interview. No. No one cares about your swag, brother. Just be professional as you can. For ladies, come neat. Don't show us too much of these things. Cover them up. We didn't call you for other things. We call you for an interview. So just be neat. I'm telling you, we've sat in interviews with ladies who she puts her leg over here. You just see yellow everywhere. There are jobs which maybe that works, but for a nice, corporate, serious, professional company, they don't entertain such bullshit. Then the other thing, understand your market rate. Don't chuck from university, you're called for a job tomorrow, and you ask for a salary of 200,000 with house allowance and a VITS and a smartphone. Not in the real world. So understand, when I come from school, these are my years of experience. This is roughly how much I'm worth. And you know how you know this information? By having now those networks, the friends you have who are already working, your sister, your relatives. You have an idea of the market rate. Like for me, there are some salaries, if you call me tomorrow, you give me a job, I'll turn down. Because I know my rate. You can't pay me below that. With the skills I have, the knowledge I have, the experience I have, there's just some salaries. I've done a couple of jobs. I've been approached a couple of times to be poached, but I've turned them down. Because I know my market rate. And the advantage now I have is I have options. But if you don't have options, then it's a different story. Yeah, but know your market rate. There's this talk in universities where, mi vile nimesoma for 4 years KU, aki ati niende huko nje, alafu ati msee anipatie sijui 10K. Kae nayo. So you heard those talks? Trust me, that you only talk here. When you get out there, different story. So, we'll come back to salaries just a bit. So understand your market rate. The other point is be confident and sell yourself. I love this. Be confident and sell yourself. There's a time we called a young man for an interview, and he came in, and he was so tense, he started sweating. You know those guys who sweat and then they chomoa sweat from their arms, and the papers are already You know, so we gave him a cup of water, we brought even coffee, we took him outside, we said, just relax. We didn't come to kill you, it's just an interview. You know, it's not that serious, it's just an interview. There is something about interviews I love about interviews, and that's why this is one of the things I'm usually very confident in interviews. This is my reasoning. These guys have not given me this job yet. I'm not guaranteed I'll be given this job yet. So, what do I have to lose? Do you have to lose anything? Nothing. So, let's keep rocking. So, I'll do my thing. So, be confident and sell yourself. By selling yourself, there are 4 points I want to bring out. When you are doing an interview, make sure you highlight your education and knowledge. Let them understand this is a guy who went to school for all these many years. He knows his thing. So stress on your education and knowledge. And then the other things, your skills and experience. And then what you do, you interconnect your education and your skills and knowledge and experience. So the first thing when you're selling yourself is your education and your knowledge, your skills and experience. And then number 3, your passion. Let's see your passion about this job. I want to work for you guys. You don't have to cry or be, Mexican soaps and become an Alejandro or something. No, you don't have to do that. But let's just see some passion. We don't want you to come to an interview and you're so boring, guys are almost sleeping. So when I was in school, and so I worked for these guys, alafu, and then my contract ended, and so what were you doing there? Like just some stuff. Come on, just be confident. Look at your CV and yourself as a product. If you want to sell Dasani right now, I'll tell you, they write huko nyuma sijui it was blended where in the underground of like Bogoria, and it was just coming like, and it's, it tastes like what? They'll tell you a lot of stuff, sindio? So why don't you look at yourself as a product. So talk about the advantages of you working for that employer. Show your passion about the job. It makes a difference, trust me. The other thing is number 4, what I just said about, which reflects in your cover letter. You tell them, so you've told them about your knowledge and education, you've told them about your skills and experience, your passion, then tell them, in kama kuwakatia, I've always wanted to work for you guys. Like since I went into first year, I've always wanted to work for you guys. And that's why I follow you on Twitter, and that's why I follow you on Facebook. That's why I know even yesterday you put up a story on your website. Like I've always wanted to work for you guys. Because I believe I have the skills and the knowledge to work for you. So you're supposed to reach to that point where you look forward for an interview. This is it. You're psyched for it. You get it? Are we together? Am I making sense, by the way? Yes. The other thing is ask questions and be engaging in the interview. So once you've been interviewed, there are two areas I want to touch on just briefly, then I move on to my 4th point, is they'll ask you, so how much do you think we should pay you for this job? This is where it gets hard. So I've made a few mistakes, and that's why I'm here to share with you my experience and to make you more wiser. So from my experience is, don't quote a specific figure. Like for me, if you ask me, how much do you think we should pay you for this position? This is how I answer it. Nitaanza paragraph. Wacha sijui 1 sentence or 1 word. I'll start a paragraph. Now, based on my experience and my education and my understanding of my market rate, I believe I'm qualified to earn between 100,000 to 300,000. Show a box. So remember now, you're saying 100,000 to up because you know your market rate. So you've boxed them. So there are those who will try to pin you down, but don't be pinned. You just say, and then you bring back the question to them. There you say, this is my market, this is the range of my market rate. However, I'll be willing to discuss on your budget for this position, on your offer for this position. You try to bring in the sense of, I'm also flexible. This is my rate, but I'm flexible to talk to you about what what is your budget for this position? Sawa. You're not asking, and then you say 10,000, and then you keep. I made that mistake. My first job when I came from India. So I was called for an interview. I passed. I was given an offer. I went and discussed. And then, so this lady asked me, so how much do you think we should give you? And I'm looking, now Tusker is like 80 bob, if I get a kahao, 5K, I told her 20,000. So they were quiet, they give me the job. A month later, they were told, your position, the minimum for our budget was 50K. Yeah, happened to me. So you get it? It's like with my many years of experience, and I'm called for an interview, and I tell 10K. I tell someone 10K. You think they'll employ me? And their budget is 400K. So we are metoka happy. Yeah. So just try to be realistic as you can. Then the next thing, now you've done your interviews, you've been called for a job, now you've passed the job, you've been given the job. So this is where we are talking about salary, what I've just discussed. Huh? One thing I need to stress here, be ready to accept days of humble beginning. Be ready to accept days of humble beginning. I'm telling you, guys who are driving big cars in this town, guys who have big salaries in this town, all of them started somewhere. Unless it was your father's company or your dad was the president. But for the average guys, the kawaida guys, everyone started from somewhere. I started earning a salary I've never imagined in my life I'll have earned. Nilipanda ndege nikaenda nikasoma nikarudi unanipatia 20K. That's what I was saying in my mind, I didn't say it out. But I was pissed off, But that's the reality, but you start moving. So after a few months, I was working very hard. I was calling the HR office, I was told, so we've seen what you've done and all that, your salary will go to 50K. Then kidogo it went to 70K. Kidogo it went to 100. It kept on going up, and it's still going up to today. Quite a nice salary. It's still going up. But it started 7-8 years ago. So when you check from school, be realistic, realize you start somewhere. The first thing you need to be obsessed about is to build your experience. Forget about salary. For now, start building your experience. That's what will give you a better job. Not a salary. A salary, we won't give you a better job. It's your CV, your experience. Do you feel like we've covered, you feel like you almost, unapata ile psyche ya prepare for the job market? Sindio? Okay, let's move on and then I'll come to questions. So this part of my presentation, I'm talking about 6 easy ways for graduates to look for a job. How do you look for a job? I have some 6 ways. Most of them is out of personal experience. 6 easy ways for graduates to look for a job. I'm almost winding up. The first thing I always say, number 1, forget your education, forget your skills, rely on God. Number 1, rely on God. Their staff, you're laughing. You're laughing on the point. You rely on God. The first thing you'll realize, and from my experience, I won't say I'm where I am because nilienda shule kasoma, I'm well qualified, I have all this many years experience. I give a lot of credit to God because you put God first, everything becomes very easy. I'm telling you. I've reached a point in the faith, and I'm not boasting, I'm just sharing my experience. I've always believed, like, if I decide to leave my work right now and look for another employer, and it has always worked for me. I don't take more than a month. I've gotten a job. When I decide today I want to look for another job, and then I start buying newspapers, I look online and all that, and I see a job, I apply. There's a week, that was like 2 years ago, I was called for 4 interviews in 1 week, back to back. And then all of them gave me offers. So I started consulting my mentor, asking guys, now what do I do? I was really confused. All the offers were good. So my point is, rely on God. Study hard, do whatever you need to do, but trust on God. Put God first. Things become so easy, you'll be so surprised. Because it's like the favor of God going with you, The second point is have a professional CV. That is, we've talked about that. And if you have any questions, we'll deal with them later on. So have a professional CV. It goes a long way in helping you. I'll give you an example. Normally what I do, this is just my personal calling, and it's like my passion. I like mentoring and working with young people, especially young graduates, people who are in school, high school, universities. And I've been running a blog for the last 1 year. And so when I'm called to do lectures like the one I'm doing. And so there's a lecture I did. I don't like calling them lecture, a talk. And then one of the guys who was in KU saw my video. I have a YouTube channel, so he watched the video, and he got in touch with me. This was like 2 months ago. So he went to my Facebook and wherever, he got in touch with me. And then he just wanted to be helped. Like he was, the stuff we are talking about, these things of CV. And he was a very young, courageous young guy. He graduated 2 years ago from KU. And he worked, I think, for one organization, and then it was downsized, and then he's been jobless. He's really been struggling. So what I did, I started meeting him every Saturday. You see this stuff we are talking about? I went through with him, each and every point. What I did first, I told him, now I want to see your CV. I looked at his CV, we said, this is where we need to start. We need to make this CV better. Because he's done a few things, but the way he had packaged his CV, the way he was looking, there are those CVs by there where you throw them. So we started working, and then the next weekend we met. We were meeting on Saturdays up at TRM. So we'll have coffee as we talk. We did interview skills, how to look for jobs, And then we worked on his CV. And then I gave him an assignment. I gave him a copy of my CV. I gave him back his CV. I told him, now you know what you need to do. Now I want you to go and work on your CV. He sent me his CV a week later, and I was very impressed. It was good. And then he started doing what we are doing, applying for jobs. A week later, after he applied for a job, he was called for an interview. And he went for the interview, he was given a job. He was given that offer last week on Tuesday. He got a job. So you see how you can sit out there for so long. And there are so many guys out here who are tamarking, but if you start interrogating each story, you will realize there are jobs, but there are guys who don't know how to prepare for those jobs. I'm telling you, there are jobs out here. There are guys who are employing people every day. So people will tell you, I've been looking for a job for 3 years. There are issues. When I hear that, I get very interested because I want to see your CV first. And then I want to see, how do you behave in interviews? Your CV may be very good, but when you go for interviews, you don't know how to present yourself. You're those guys who start sweating. Or you come in the interview with swag, or you're trying to show attitude. One thing about interviews is, depending on the job you're being interviewed, sometimes they do it intentionally to provoke you. They want to see your anger management level. And I've seen guys losing it in interview. Someone will ask you a very stupid question or even insult you in interview. They want to see how you react. It's part of the interview. So there are guys who come with attitude like, mi wezi niuliza swali kai, unabongaje wewe. You've already disqualified yourself. There's a young guy we were interviewing for a driver at work. So we were interviewing this guy. And what we do, we want to understand how do you react under pressure. So we had some sort of an assignment, but it's like we are talking to interview, and he didn't get it. So our scenario basically was, you are asked to drop the boss in Nairobi West. You live in Ruaraka. The office is in town. You're asked to drop the boss in Nairobi West. It's an afternoon, an evening, it's really rained. Your wife works in Rongai. You are in Nairobi West. It's 5 o'clock and it's raining. And you know very well she's almost leaving work. So you can just as well give her a lift. But then the company policy says you cannot carry unauthorized passengers. So what do? Or maybe when you are just checking Nairobi West, you saw her at the stage and it was raining. And you have this big, nice Kiprado. You're either going with it back to your house or you're going to park it to the office. But she's there. What do? You want to give it a shot? Yes. He said, unajua kama kampuni imekataa, siwezi mbeba, mimi nitaenda. You're like, no. You are a human being. This is your wife. Like, realistically. What will you do? Will you just leave her there? So if you carry her and the company knows, you risk losing your job. Hapo ya nini mkijua mvua itanyesha? Na mnajua anafanya kazi Rongai. You know. And he really was so, you know, and we had to end the interview prematurely because of that. And we realized this guy has issues with his, and of course he just disqualified himself like that. So, you'll be called staff. They will ridicule the way you dress, the color of your tie. They will tell you stuff, yes. Oh, the answer to that question? Oh, you know what you need to do? Is I'll give my boss a call and say, listen, I've just dropped you. My wife is at the stage, you know it's raining. I want to give her a ride. Is it okay? If it's not okay, you drive off. It's your job. Yeah. So that's how we will, you know, you can go about it. Yeah. So you guys, are you getting it? Yeah, so be very relaxed, be very confident in interview, but also look out for those insulting, I call them insulting questions. You know, someone will ask, no, umevaje kama malaya? Unajua hii ni interview. And then you tell them, Ileza. You know. Okay, so he said 6 easy ways of graduates look for a job. Rely on God, have a professional CV. Then networking. Networking, I'm still coming back to. So I will just give you a few ways of how you can network. The first thing, alumni event, like I'm an alumni of Daystar University. Everything that happens within the alumni network, I am subscribed to their email. So I know these guys are going to visit some children's home somewhere. We have a fundraising of someone who passed away, or there's a job opportunity in what organization. So unajuanga, let me tell you something about jobs in this country. Before you see that advert in the paper, do you know how many people will already have known about it in this social media? Because normally this is what happens in organizations. For example, if they want to look for a customer relations manager, do you know what they do? They send an internal memo to all the employees, all the managers in their network. So we say we are looking for some. So the first priority is internal recruitment. Or sometimes what they do is they tell the employees to refer people they know who can. Two things here. The company is trying to cut the cost of advertising for jobs. Sindio? So they are doing the easy way of getting someone qualified. So if you know people, the first thing they do, and I get a lot of these on my emails, almost on a weekly basis. My friends, you know, from my NGO networks and outside, so people say, Douglas, we are looking for this accountant. We are looking for so-and-so. We are looking for a driver. So you get email. And I've been referring a couple of my friends. You know, I just forward the email and say, apply for this. And then it gives, if I refer you, it gives you an advantage. Because whoever is recruiting you reached out to me and I've referred you to you. And they have faith in me. You see how people look for jobs? So by the time it hits the newspaper, okay, there are those that goes directly to the newspaper, but most of them, that's the process. So networking, knowing people here and there. So you have alumni events, you have LinkedIn. So mnajua LinkedIn, the website for jobs. Yeah, open an account, apply your CV, let it be there. I've been called a number of times by NGOs, even outside the country. They're like, oh, will you be interested to work in this country? We saw your CV on LinkedIn and all that. Very, very important. And that's also the way you also network with people on a professional level. So this is beyond Facebooks and likes and Instagram and photos. This is now professional networking. The other thing is career fairs. So you have career fairs, like you'll hear most of them in Sarit Center or in town, attend them. The other thing is product launches. When guys are launching products, Unilever are launching a new product of soap, try to make sure you are there. Network with guys. You can easily get an opportunity of being a sales manager or, you know, being recruited. Or they may be, you can be told, by the way, we want to recruit guys who can help us sell this product, market the product. It works very well. And then public events. So if you're looking for a job, remember we use the word hustling. So whenever you go for those public events, what I used to do, there's a time I used to have a lot of business cards. Because when I meet you, I'll hustle you. Nikijua sijui you're working. Ama I'll just see the way you look, you're working. Excuse me, sir. My name is Douglas Waudo. I just wanted to politely ask, can I have your business card? So, oh, sure. Then I look, AMD sijui what? Kisha. Monday, nimekutumia CV. I mean, I have nothing to lose. The least you can do is throw it in the dustbin. Sindio? have nothing to lose. And the best it can happen, you can call me for an interview. Sindio? So just be open-minded, hustle, talk to people. And then the other thing is interviews. When you go for an interview, whether they give you a job or not, it's also a place of networking. What I usually do is, if I'm not chased away, oh, thank you, sir, we'll call you, blah, blah. If they are not telling me all those things, I'll hang around. No. So you guys, also this position, when do you think you'll fill it? Or do you have other positions? I was just wondering, are you guys going to put my CV on your database? I'd really love to work for you. This is what happened to me, personal example. Early last year, I applied for a job for the Canadian government. We're looking for a communication manager to oversee their projects in Africa. So I applied for that job. I went for the interview. It went really well. And then they called me a week later. They gave me an offer, but it was like a half of what I was currently earning, so I turned them down. And then they were really hesitant, so they were trying to, they were telling me, oh, just get the offer, we'll give you a car. I told them, just increase my salary, I can buy another car from my salary. Oh, we'll give you a house. I'm like, no, just give me a good salary, I buy my own house, The guy really wanted me to get on board. And then he asked me, so, we have this. They wanted someone because there was an upcoming big project they wanted to do. And so he asked me, can you do this project for us? I said, yeah, I can consult for you. So long story short, we signed a contract a few days later. And I was working for them for 15 days. And I was charging them $300 a day. And that connection came as a result of an interview. The other thing, number 4, is volunteer your service and time. This, by the way, you should do. If you want to get into work, if you want to build. Now, my friend, coming back to that point of uko shule, umemaliza shule, lakini CV yako haina experience, you've never worked anywhere. This is where now you go full blast. When you're still in campus, those things you have your free time. When you have your holidays, volunteer your time. Put it on the CV. Volunteer your services. This is how now you build your CV. Don't be like those guys, you've been in KU for 4 years. When you chomoka from KU, your CV only reads university, high school, and primary. Mpaka unaeka KCSE, now primary hapo, KCP. Now people start putting things of, I got a C+, it's in English. They list all the subjects. Don't. You have, especially guys who are in first year, I wish I knew what I'm telling you when I was in first year. When you're in school right now, this is the time you build your CV. So that when you get out there, you already have a competitive advantage. Can you imagine all of you will graduate? You're given powers to go and read. With gowns, you throw a bash and then you start tamaking. And all of you, your CVs are the same. You did the same course, you went to the same university, everything. The only difference on your CV is that you grew up in different villages. So I really want to stress on this. So make sure you volunteer your time and services. That's what will work for you. I'll give you an example. When I was in India for 3 years, I was doing my undergraduate in journalism and mass communication. And class used to end, those guys start class at 9, it ends at 3. So from 3 o'clock up to the following day at 9, I was so free. So what I decided, because I was like, I'm wasting a lot of time, I enrolled in diploma courses, certificate courses. So after school, I'll go home and rest for 2 hours. At around 5 o'clock or 6, I go and do my, private studying, enroll in different courses. When I came back from India, I came back with 4 diplomas and 4 certificates and my degree. And then when I was in India, now we used to have long holidays. So I used to have, and I love writing. So I started writing a book as a joke. And I finished writing the book. I shared with my mentor. I'll come with the mentoring part. He looked at it. He was so excited. He connected me to some publishers. I published the book when I was in India. So, and then I sent a few copies at home. So ile ya kujisikia. Unajua swag. I sent it to my dad. He gave it to my uncle. My uncle was so impressed. He went and gave it to his boss. His boss was American. So the boss was like, so who is this? This is your nephew. Oh, he's in India. When is he clearing? Oh, he's almost about to come home, maybe in less than a year. Tell him when he comes and sees me. Do you know I got my first job a year before I graduated? There was a job in Kenya I knew, and I never used to tell my friends in India. But I knew there's a job waiting for me, an NGO. And that's how I got into NGO. Because of my novel, not even my CV. Because the guy was so impressed. How old is he? He's 25 years. Then he read the novel. He was so happy. So immediately I landed like this. Nika relax, kidogo. Then I went and saw him. He was like, are you ready to start? I'm like, I'm so ready. And that's how I entered the NGO world. I worked there for 5 years. So you get it. If you're good in writing, start writing now. Publish stories in the papers. Tuma kwa letters of editors. When you clear high school and you're going to Nation looking for a job, you have a piles of your stories from the newspaper. What else have you done? Oh, I was published here. That's what gives you a competitive advantage. So don't waste, as long, watch those scandals. Scandals season 3, watch them. But also do something else. For guys, you can debate the whole day about Man U, Arsenal, Liverpool, but at the same time, add some value on your CV. So when you check campus, I hate to see guys who check campus with CVs with putting I got a C in English. Tell me I published stories, I wrote a book, I wrote a children's book, I volunteered in a children's home, I help here and there. Put them in your CV. So you don't tell people, oh, I was in school, I didn't work. I didn't have any work. You have a lot of free time. And then you have a lot of contact networks within your friends. Use them. And you stress enough, huh? Can I move on? Yeah. But I wanted just to make that very clear, because that's the mistake people do. They waste a lot of time, and then it becomes very tricky for them. Second last point, surround yourself with positive people. Positive people. Guys who don't add value for you in your life, chuja them. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. When I started working, I used to be, because I started working and then I was, progressively my salary started really getting better. And most of my friends knew I was earning very well. So I had a lot of friends. My phone just used to ring, hey, unajibamba wapi leo? Uko tao, sawa, tokea. And then so all these guys come, you drink, you throw raos and do all those things. Guess what? The bill goes to you. Now you think you're the man. I'm the one paying their bill. So you feel very good. So you're always spending your money. I'm telling you, I wasted almost 5 years of my good money without investing anywhere. I used to have a lot of friends. We throw raos, but I'm too generous to pay for your cab, and all those things. And then they will borrow money from you, they will do us, they never repay back. 5 years. My only budget was nikishalipa rent. Alafu aka 5K yusukumia mother in shags, she's so happy and you're easy in Nairobi. Now you have everything. I used to kula mpaka 10%. Ile tithe. For 5 years, I'm telling you guys, we used to rock this city. All the bar owners used to know me. Bar owners, wachana na baunza. Ile mnagotea na ni aje. Wacha bar owners. And I used to travel a lot within Africa. So when I'm going to Mombasa, I'll call the guy. I'm telling you, you will be received in Bella Vista in Mombasa like a VIP. So I was living the life. And then, of course, by the time, before you land in Costo, everyone knows Dagi is coming. It's going down. Dagi is coming. And then I used to know bar owners in Malindi, in Kilifi. You roll. It was serious rolling. But then, I will have bought a few clothes, in Kitengela, done a few things with my life. I wasted 5 years. But I learned. So I want to share my experience with you so that you don't make the same mistake. Surround yourself with positive people. Know who your true friends are. Me, this is how I judge my friends, and I'm very harsh with it. If you don't add value in my life, I don't need you in my life. It's as simple as that. If all you do in my life is complaining and murmuring and gossiping about others, I don't need negative people around me. I want guys that will talk about Man U and Arsenal and all that, but at the same time, we'll talk serious stuff. Where to volunteer our time, how do we build our CVs. We'll do this, but do that. Okay, let's continue. Lastly, on these 6 ways for graduates to look for a job, ensure you have a professional mentor. So we all know who a mentor is. Someone who directs you in a professional way. Make sure you have that. And that's why I feel very passionate to talk about mentoring and to start mentoring and helping people, because we don't have mentors. The mistakes I've made all through in my life is because there was no one to guide me. A mentor is not your father or your relative or your brother or your sister. No, a mentor is a professional, someone outside your ring. He can be your relative, but someone who can guide you in a professional way. Someone, if you have issues, you go to. So you make sure you have a mentor, someone who can guide you, someone who can share with you their experience. Because you'll get out of this university and go look for a job. Do you know how many millions and millions of people were in your shoes earlier? You're not the first one to look for a job. There are guys who've made mistakes. There are guys who've learned from them. They can make your work so easy. You don't have to tarmac for 2 years or send 1,000 CVs. If you know so-and-so, someone can refer you, can easily get a job. Are we together? Now, my last things, this is like just for fun, but some messages there. 5 things I will do different if I was back in campus. There are 5 things, I'm winding up and then I'll take some question and answer and let you go. 5 things I will do different if I was back in campus. Don't laugh at this one. The first thing is, I'll party hard. I'll party hard, but study harder. Trust, those are the first thing. I'll party hard, but study harder. I'll make it rain on Saturday. On Monday morning, I'll be in the library. I won't miss lectures. I'll do assignments. I will research ahead. But when it comes to getting it down, I'll make it rain, baby. So those are, because the problem is we do it the other way around. We party harder and just study. We don't even study hard, we just study. So I'll do it the other. I'm telling you, I'll party. I'll party. But I will study harder. This is what I used to do in India. This is something I learned. My first year and second year in India, I used to be a DJ. A DJ. Every day I was in the pub, DJing. And then kukwana gigs, Nax Vegas, ya India, nini, I'll go there and I charge very premium. I used to see adverts of promotion, a gig on the streets, those posters. International DJ from Africa. DJ Dagi Fresh. So no, international DJ from Africa. Used to do all that. But you know what I used to do? Every day I'll DJ up to midnight. I'll go home. I'll sleep for 3 hours. I wake up around 5 o'clock. I read. See, class starts at 9. I read up to around 7. Then I'll sleep for another 1 hour. I go to school. And then there were 2 friends in my campus. These guys were so important to me. The first guy was the librarian and my lecturers. So the lecturer, I'll go to him, especially when you're about to close campus. Guys have done with the exams, they're returning books in the library, everyone is in the mood of going on holiday. I'll go to my lecturer, I'll ask for syllabus for the next semester. He give me the long syllabus. I'll get the syllabus for all the subjects. I'll go to the librarian, I'll give him like 4 days or 3 days. Tell you, I need all these books. So by the time guys are clearing, you're going home, carrying your bags, you're excited, me, I'm carrying books. So during the holiday, we'll party, you'll come to my house. I used to throw bashes in my house every Saturday. That was like by default. Kitoka pub, kwa dagi. We'll do that. But then, we'll do all those things. When guys leave my house, nini, and I never used to drink a lot. So nitapiga kelele. Unajua wale watu kierere lakini walewagi. Kelele tu. But they do. So you'll bleki. It takes you 3 days to recover. It just takes me a cup of coffee and I'm good. And then I'll read and keep. And no, I never used to know what I'm doing. From first year to third year, I used to be number 1 in my class in India. And guys, never up to today, people don't understand how it never used to happen. Because if there's a guy who used to party, it was me. So you understand my thing? Party hard, study harder. I used to study during the holidays. When the semester starts, when the teacher is teaching, me, I'm revising. because I've already studied everything. So if I ever get back to campus, I'll party hard and study harder. Then the second thing I'll do, I'll choose my friends wisely. I will understand that it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So the other thing I know I've talked about this, is when you're choosing your friends, choose people you have the same things in common. You have the same goals in common. You don't want to choose someone, you want to go to Nakuru, this guy is going to Mombasa. It's not gonna work. So you have the same goals. Choose guys. Then identify people that even after campus, you'll still be. I want to be in campus, I know her very well. 10 years down the line when I'm calling you for my kid's birthday, you come with like a bottle of wine. You know you're doing well after campus. You don't come, alafu unafika kwa gate, unaniflash. Ebu kama nje, sunipatia kaka sotatu kakabi hivi. You start borrowing. As in 10 years later, I'm meeting you, you're just full of problems. No, me one guys, you understand what I'm saying? Wasa wanakushikanisha kadili, we usually call kadili, those things of consultancy. If there's like a job that has happened, you want to do a side job. You want those guys, they will call you after. And I have a few of those of my friends. Especially, actually, 2 months ago, a friend of mine, I've not talked to him for a while, but we've been in touch. He works for an MP here in Nairobi. The MP has a constituency in Nairobi. So he gave me a call last month. So he was like, Bwana Mheshimiwa wants to do a project, a water and sanitation project in health in his constituency. So he's looking for a guy who can write for him a communication strategy and help his NGO and do a lot of media campaigns. And he referred me to the guy. We met with the guy a month ago, the Mheshimiwa, in Hurlingham. We had coffee, we talked business, and we sealed a deal. So I do my stuff on weekends. When I'm not working, after I've come from church in the afternoon, I do my two strategies. I'm working for the guy now. And how did I get that? Through someone I'd known. And guys, after 10 years, I'm meeting you, telling me, you were married 4 times. Mashida too, So choose your friends wisely. The third point, if I ever get back to campus, I will save and invest the little coins I get my hands on. I will save and invest. Like a small money. Me, I know guys of campus who, make it rain with help. You get help and then it becomes another thing. So, ukipata too small, what do? Just start looking around. There are a lot of opportunities at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, some stuff, just put your money. Can you imagine? You are in first year right now. You have another 4 years to go. You buy like 100 shares in Safaricom after 4 years, and then you keep quiet. After 4 years, do you know how much you'll be worth? I leave that to study. You can check that out. Just kidogo. And then the other thing I'll do, I'll already know what I want in life. So I won't be so obsessed with getting out of here and getting employed. My number one priority, if I ever get back to campus now, my first priority getting employed will be the second option. But my first option is, I will get out of campus and become an entrepreneur. Start my kabizna. Open a M-Pesa in Shags when you're in first year, second year. Do small things that doesn't need. And then the other thing, you can easily raise cash from your relatives. May I have some relatives, if I go to some of my uncles and I share with them a brilliant idea, this is what I want, they will sponsor you. They may not give you necessarily everything, but they'll give you a few things that will go a long way. So one thing I'll do, and I really regret, I used to earn those money in India DJing, and nothing I can show off. I just made the club owner richer. I came back home broke. Yeah. So save and invest the little money you get your hands on. And then number 4, what I'll do, very important, I'll enroll in a side course. I'll enroll in a side course. Now the advantage we have, you can do some courses online. It doesn't cost much. You can just research, look around. And what I'll encourage is, enroll to a course that is, remember our career objectives? The course that is related to your career objective. So that you're not doing environment and then you go and study accounting. or something so out of the way of your expertise. So I'll do diplomas here, I'll do certificates here and there. And then there are many, like when I came from India immediately, so I was just home 2 days after I came from India. So I was just home relaxing, and then I used to read a lot of papers. And then I see the SIDA. SIDA is Sweden, wherever, Swedish NGO. They were looking for young journalists to train them in data. They'd partnered, I was looking for, collaborated with Daystar to train journalists for 2 weeks on environmental journalism. And I joined. I applied and I was taken. I used to go in Ascend and some guest house. They trained us there for 2 weeks. We were given certificates. It's in my CV. I have a certificate in environmental journalism and communication. So there are trainings which are for free. There are these one-day trainings in Tao or wherever, and you know them through people, through going through these public events. You attend, you are given a certificate. Put it in your CV. So what I'll do, I'll have, like, by the time I graduate, I want to have at least like a side diploma, like a side certificate, just improve your knowledge also. Like for me, when I was in India, they were told I did 4 diplomas. One was in digital media. The other was in media studies. So digital media is how to do softwares, which were not being taught at school, like editing videos or softwares for editing videos and such stuff. Then lastly, my last point before I take your questions is I will chase internship opportunities as if my life depends on it. I will chase internship opportunities as if my life depends on it. Now, there's one of the biggest mistakes people do from campus. Unatoka campus with one-sided mind, looking for a job. If someone gives you an opportunity to be an intern, you don't want that. Mimi nataka job. Internship nini? Mnanilipa how much kwanza? Ikae, mimi nataka job. There's a friend of mine, I was with her in Daystar. She was doing undergraduate. I was doing when I was doing my master's there. And there was a good friend of mine who has a publishing company. He's employed around 57 people. She was looking for an office manager. So I told my friend, by the way, see, it was a dandy like, so you go to this lady, her office on Monday, she wants to see you, she wants to give you a job. The first question she asked, and remember she had just cleared her degree, so she was stomaching. She asked me, Analipa, how much? I told her, no, I'm not sure, maybe 30K but above, but it can't be less than 30K. Mi asponpatia 70K, ikae. She had done some business management courses in Daystar. So she lingered. So my friend kept on bugging me. I need an office manager. Where is your friend? And I'm calling her. So there's a time I tried calling her. Now the following week, Kukoma Wednesday. She was mteja. I'm calling her, she was mteja. Then I see photos on Facebook. What? Deka chiki zuko in Watamu. In a bikini. You know those guys who upload like 96 photos in 2 minutes on Facebook? Yeah, like everything you're eating, there's that upload of the photo, you're showering, everything, 96 photos. But she's mteja, she's in Watamu, and I'm really so I gave her, my friend got another person. The lady who was employed for that position, as we speak now, she earns at least more than 100K. This other lady, up to today, she's still tamaki. Up to today. So her work is just hanging around looking for rich men, wazungus, nini here and there, you know. But her life is so messed up, like she can't even be in a stable relationship. I think in a year she has like 9 ex-boyfriends, you know. So today it's who, today is who, you know, it's so messed up. So what I will say is internships. Because the beauty with it, I didn't mention, when I started working, when that Mzungu gave me a job when I came back, I was employed as an intern for 6 months. And I used to hate it. Like intern, mimi. Na niko na sijui na diploma ine, na degree, na certificate. Intern. That intern, I was given business because I never used to give people. It was a communication intern. After 6 months, I was made a communication manager. So, and that's how you get into organizations. Even at our place of work, it's easy to get a job if you're an intern. Very, very easy. Because the beauty of the intern is you're given an opportunity to show what you can do. I love you do it so well, back when your internship ends, these guys have no option but to just look for a position for you. You know, there are those who will tell you, oh, you know, we don't have a position for you, it's just an intern. When you are done, they're like, we kaanga tu, endelea kaa tu. You know, and that's how you get jobs. So don't, you know me, I'm looking for a job. My last story, there are so many stories. So there's this young guy last year, graduated from Nairobi University. And then the way he had, I told you earlier, he had this list of NGOs, I think he was Googling. He had done agribusiness. So he happened to look for get my NGO contacts, and then he came to the office. Ile random too. So I'm called at the reception. There was this guy who wants to know about the organization. Then I had a talk with him in the conference hall for like an hour. So he told me, I've just graduated, I'm looking for a job. And we started having this kind of a talk. I told him, look for an internship, nini. Watch us stop being obsessed looking for a job. Look for a job, yes, but don't turn down internship opportunities. And a month or 2 months later, he was given an internship in some, I think, NGO in Kabete. Within 4 months, the guy calls me, he was employed. And that's how you get absorbed in organization. I'm going to stop there. So I'll pick some few questions.
I can see that your cover letter is right. So is it valid to handwrite, or is it just okay if you
You handwrite if only you're requested. There are those employers or adverts which will expressly ask you to do a handwriting cover letter. If they have not done that, don't do handwriting.
So do you encourage the CV to be written on white paper or colored paper?
White paper, please. Unless you are asked to do it in red paper. But white paper. Don't be too fancy about CVs. Sijui, alafu font. Oh gosh, font. I won't say this is the right font, this is the wrong font. But what I'll try to do, look at your CV when you write it. Today, go and look at your CV. Does it look professionally presented? You know, you don't make sijui umeka kalawati, ume underline, umeka italics, sijui umefanya nini, and then using short forms in your CVs, you know. You just spell out what. Just be professional in your CV, the way we want to be professional in an interview. Is it?
In order during the interview to float in the idea that you will prefer the condition to be part-time or full-time?
It depends. Are they looking for part-time or a full-time person?
If it was an open job.
If it's an open job, then yeah, you talk about your availability. That is pretty okay. Just say I'm available at these times or these days. That's fine. And then, before you forget, when you're called for an interview, carry everything that can support what you've said on your CV. If you've published a book, carry your book, newspaper clippings that your stories appeared. Carry everything. Usifike huko, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know. Amukuuliza. No, just carry. When I go for interview, it's like I'm going for a holiday. I have this nice computer bag that has all my stuff. Publications, any small thing you've done, wake up. So don't forget that, whether they ask you or not, carry. And in the interview, if they don't ask, chomoa. Oh, by the way, and then it will go, remove it. You say, oh, by the way, I came with the newspaper clippings and I published this book and I've done this and that.
In most CVs, I see they include hobbies, but when you are going through your CV, you didn't mention anything like hobbies.
For me, again, the level of my experience, I don't really see the need of putting hobby in my CV. It's just too much extra information. Yeah. But I leave that to your discretion. If you feel like you can put hobbies and all that, it's fine. Like for you guys at the level you are, you can put your hobbies, you can put your interest. But weka huko nyuma huko, then after, you know, don't put huko mbele sana, because an employee is more interested with your experience, your education.
Okay, there are these organizations that they demand for a personal bio. Did they send us a cover letter?
Personal bio is your personal information. They will ask your referee, they'll ask where you live, if you're married, you know, background information about you. That is not necessarily your professional experience. Yeah.
Let's assume that you've got a new job and you need to quit the current job. Okay, what's the best way to address the organization I want?
This guy is good. Thank you for that. Wow. That I had really missed, and it's very crucial. So I'm working here and I've been given a job. So basically this is what happens. When you go for interviews, thank you so much for bringing this. they will ask you. If they don't ask you, ask them. Mostly they will ask you, how available are you to start the job? How soon are you to start the job? Then, this is the thing they'll do. They'll trick you. They'll tell you, we are looking to fill this position as soon as possible. And then you, mostly Kenyan, according to the Kenyan law, when you sign your contract, mostly there's a clause where you have to give your employer at least a minimum of 1 month notice before you quit. You guys know about that? Yeah, there's that clause. So it's a tricky thing because where you're being given a job, they're asking you how soon you can take that job. What I usually do, I've been caught in that scenario many times. What I usually do, I'll tell them, right now I'm under contractual obligations. So I'll be available after 1 month. I want to professionally leave my current employer by honoring my contract. So my contract talks of 1 month notice. So what you do, they look at you and see this is a very professional person. Because you know, they're imagining if you got employed and you wanted to leave, will you give them a 1 month notice? Ama utahepa. So if you answer and say, I'll just leave, you know, it already tells something about your personality, and they will be worried about you may get another job and they just disappear and leave them dry. So you just say, I have to honor my contractual obligation. However, this is also subject to, I know of people, you have accumulated a lot of leave days at your current job. Let's say like for me, I've accumulated a lot of leave days. So what I do, I'll tell them, and this is something I already know before I go for an interview. So I'll tell them, I'll be available after 2 weeks. So basically, I'll go back to my employer and work for 2 weeks, give her 2 weeks notice, and then take leave. Or if you have even 30 days, you go back and say, which is really unprofessional. It's not really good, by the way. You just go back and say, I'm taking leave, and then you disappear. Because that is very bad, you know, in terms of, imagine you are the employer, I need to fill this position, you need to hand over. I know of a lady in my previous company, she was going to the States. She was relocating there. Her family was there. And she's gotten her visa and everything, and she was never told anyone. There's a day she came in the morning in the office. Then she packed her stuff, she kept quiet. And then at lunchtime, she went and told the boss, by the way, I'm bouncing. You are doing what? And she was an IT manager, she has all the passwords for internet, everything. And she bounced. And there was chaos in that office for 1 month. You call guys of Safaricom, your internet has done what they're asking you for a password. We don't know password. You have to start rebooting everything. It's not cool. And then remember, it's a small world. You leave a beta test in an employer's mouth. You'll apply for a job after a few years. You find the same guy, he's the MD for that organization you are looking for a job. So always try to live in a very, like my first job, your job nilipata nikitoka India, I'm very good guy with the country director up to today. And I've done a lot of consultancy he gives me because of the relationship we have with him. So always live in a good way. Don't live, guys are cursing you because you've gotten another job. That job will end. Nothing lasts forever.
Talking about interview, you said that you have to show them that you really need this job. You have to explain yourself why you need that job and why maybe you're the best for that opportunity. And when it comes to CV, there are some people who write personal profile. Under that personal profile, some will say maybe I'm an industrious person or hardworking person. Is it that necessary to write in your CV, or is it okay just to be said during interview?
What you need to do is, you know, when someone is looking for a job, when an employer is looking for a prospective employee, so they put an ad, let's say it's in the papers. So they'll tell you what they want, and the specific words they use. He needs to be a team player, and what are the others? Committed, strategic, actually very different. I don't have one, even this one I applied last week on Thursday to UNICEF. It's very different. What I usually do, I read the advert, and then I adopt some of the keywords, what now she's talking about. From the advert, I put it in my CV. So if they say we are looking for a strategic thinker and industrial person, entrepreneur, I choose those words, I put them in the cover letter. What that does, if I'm an HR manager in an organization and I'm reading your cover letter, and I start seeing words that I had put in the job description, you know that subconsciously it already captures my attention. Nugget. So when I'm reading your CV, I'm saying, kwani alijuaje? We're actually looking for him or her. You get it? So you tweak. Always tweak your CV. Don't be those guys. Your uncle tells me to me a CV for this job in Equity Bank, and then you just go and, especially if you have an advantage of having a job description for that position, always tick your CV. Play around with words. And don't exaggerate too much. And then when it comes to interview, you can't explain where you got a diploma in in a certain field. You know, there are guys who just put stuff, and then when you're asked to defend it, it becomes a problem. Okay. Yes.
Is it right to include the languages you speak or understand most in your personal details? And some people say that if you've worked in a government organization and then you're applying in a non-governmental organization, you shouldn't put more details about your experience in the government organization. It lowers the morale of the non-government organization.
There are positions where they will be very specific. We want someone who can speak English and Swahili or French and all that. So if they ask that, include that in your CV. In my CV, unless you ask, I don't put. So if for a position they have not asked about it, I normally don't put the languages. I assume since my CV is in English, of course I know English, and then I'm Kenyan, I know Swahili. And then I stop there. And then the other thing about government, I will kind of disagree with them in a way, because from our experience, like for our organization, there are positions where we specifically look for government guys, for that expertise in government, and then you know that this thing nowadays of public-private partnership, so working with government. So we need someone with a very good network with governments. So I think it's not a statement that can be primarily just be applied everywhere. I think it goes also with the kind of job you're looking for. If they say they're looking for a government or you work for government, you have experience, what's wrong with government? I mean, you have experience, you put it in your CV, that's what you've done, you're applying for a job. If you're a suited candidate, I'm sure they'll give you a job. So follow your dreams. Everything is possible. Me, I didn't have time to tell you where I've come from. I was not born in a fancy family. I was born in the village in Kitale, and my dream used to be to come and live in Nairobi. That was my dream. Yeah, I'm guys who used to battle jiggers back in the village, but here I am. I have a lot of guys looking up on me, and I thank God for that. My point is, everyone has potential. If you are passionate and you follow your dreams, you will go far. You will work in any organization you want. I'm telling you that. It has happened to me, and I'm a witness. And that's why my aim is just to share my story and inspire guys. So I hope this session has been good. If you need me to come back to talk about other things or the same things, I will make time. You just let me know in advance, and I'll still come. And I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come.